Young people, freedom is not free. Someone always has to pay the price. The price is high, but Americans have always been willing to pay it when necessary. My advice to you is to keep yourself prepared, because it may be your turn the next time freedom is threatened. What is a patriot? A man who loves his country and is willing to lay down his life in its defense. Folks, in the Battle of the Bulge, the siege of Bastogne begs the question, how did 12,000 American troops in that town hold off 156,000 German troops, well-equipped, heavy artillery, command of the air with the Luftwaffe, while in that town there was 12,000 Americans, underfed, no winter clothes, short of ammunition and food. What was there plenty of? Guts, pride, and the determination that no bunch of Nazi fascist soldiers was going to top the American soldier who was ready to defend his country.
I'm a bit of a historian. I think about the Normandy invasion and the Screaming Eagles flying in the C-47s and parachuting in the Sam McGlays and the gliders. And I just think of the unbelievable bravery of that generation. And then it's kind of not a burden, but a privilege for all of us who come into this division. I came as a young major to put that Screaming Eagle patch on, knowing the legacy of the division during World War II, Bastogne, and then of course in Vietnam, and where it became the Air Mobile Division, and really set the stage for helicopter operations and maneuver warfare.
The 5th Special Forces Group was purpose-built for war. It was activated on the 21st of September 1961 and immediately took up presence in Vietnam shortly after there and had a long continuous presence in Vietnam. The history of 5th Group, right, I mean, that's where it all starts. 24 Medal of Honor recipients from the group, from service in Vietnam, many other awards for gallantry over that time period. But that's at the foundation for what the group was and what it's become.
Well, I guess it took me 2 years to flunk out of college. So I flunked out. I had a summer job in Yosemite. My dad sent me a letter saying the draft board would be coming for you. And a few days later, I purchased the book, The Green Berets by Robin Moore, read it, and said, if I'm going, I want to go with these guys if I can get through the training group.
I was shot down for the first time in the aftermath of Tet. There was a battle going on. We worked in an area away from base camp at Benoit. We worked in an area primarily called Sombay.
The team, a couple of them jumped out of the helos and were fighting with the bad guys that had them surrounded, basically in the CLZ and that. And it was one of my good warrant officer buddies that was flying the plane, and him and his co-pilot, they got killed. And I think that was probably the worst day, and the thing I remember the most about is seeing somebody with no apparent fear of death fly into a hot LZ, end up getting killed. And they've done it numerous times, but one time they don't come back, and that was really a hard thing.
We made a commitment at FOB1 that if we would be their primary support unit, that we would never leave a team behind. That was our commitment.
Because I was Special Forces. That's what Green Berets did. That's what we had trained for. And my team, I was really close to our little people. And they were fighting. They knew what communism was.
I deployed to Vietnam when I turned 18. They fought for each other when our country forgot how. It was a very sad time in our country during the Vietnam era.
And so it took a while to rebuild that army from Vietnam. And at the same time, move from a draftee army when I first came in to an all-volunteer army. So it proved that when young Americans volunteer to don the cloth of our nation, you're getting quality people.
Of my 32-year service, I have almost 19 years with the division. I was assigned to Delta Company 3rd and the 502nd. Half their company died on the Gander crash. And they had soldiers that were committing suicide. The thing that's sad, it's the truth. Most of the single soldiers gave up their seats for the first flight home, and married soldiers came home so they could be with the family for Christmas. And that's all the soldiers that died. And that was one of the mental issues that the company had, because they had given up their seats to their friend, and their friend died on the plane.
So we pray, receive, O Lord, into your heavenly kingdom the men and women of the 101st Airborne, the men and women of the great and fabled Screaming Eagles. They must be singing now in their joy, flying higher than mere man can fly, as flights of angels take them to their rest. I know that there are no words that can make your pain less or make your sorrow less painful. Oh, I wish there were. But of one thing we can be sure. As a poet said of other young soldiers in another war, they will never grow old. They will always be young. And we know one thing with every bit of our thinking. They are now in the arms of God. God bless you.
We were the first unit to deploy after Saddam attacked Kuwait, and we took all my Apaches. They bumped our battalion up.
This conflict started August 2nd when the dictator of Iraq invaded a small and helpless neighbor. Kuwait, a member of the Arab League and a member of the United Nations, was crushed. Its people brutalized. 5 months ago, Saddam Hussein started this cruel war against Kuwait. Tonight, the battle has been joined.
We had already been told that we were going to conduct an air assault into Iraq. We didn't have the details at that time, but we knew we were going to go in early.
After about 6 or 7 months in the saddle as platoon leader in 2nd Infantry 227, we were deploying to Saudi Arabia to defend Saudi Arabia in response to Saddam Hussein's annexation of Kuwait.
And we had to hit the targets at 2:38 in the morning. And I'm very proud to say at both sites, because of it, we fired our rockets and missiles right at 2:38 in the morning. And there was a 4 minutes and 30 seconds worth of chaos. We were firing hellfires, taking them out.
We knew we were ready. I remember distinctly talking to our brigade commander and brigade sergeant major and our battalion level commander and sergeant major. At this time, they were all Vietnam veterans, but that was the only combat experience, where now in any given platoon, you have probably about all of the NCOs and a fair amount of the soldiers have some combat experience.
That was the first time we took the all-volunteer Army to war. And it was also the first time we fought a big land battle after we stood up the National Training Center, the Joint Readiness Training Center, where we'd take battalions and brigades out and practice warfighting.
Just before sunrise, we took off and we stayed about 50 feet off the deck. It was very scary. It was over an hour flight. When I got home, the reason I'm making that a point, that's about the length of time that the 101st Airborne Division, when they flew into Normandy, it was about an hour flight. So this was about the same length of time.
We took out all their power generation, so it shut everything down. We took out their communications. And then luckily at 4,000 meters as we were coming in, we took out the air defense systems and then did the rest of the mission.
When we landed, we got into the fight.
But really the division masterfully assembled all of the aviation to be able to bring the brigade in essentially one or two lifts into Cobra, recock that air armada, bring 2nd Brigade into Cobra and onto Viper, recock that armada, and then bring 3rd Brigade through Cobra up to the Euphrates River Valley. And they did this, each of those major moves, moving thousands of soldiers. They were doing it every, 36, 48 hours or so. It was really, really impressive.
A lot of people don't realize that, but we had a battalion of Apaches and a battalion of Cobras fighting, going after the Iraqi. Once the fight was over, the 1st Battalion captured over 300 prisoners. They weren't shooting at us, they were shooting at the ground, but they were told if they didn't fight, Saddam would kill their family. Dick Cody, now 4-star general retired, he almost got shot down. One of the things that when I returned, that everybody pulled me to the side and said, your wife made a difference for the wives here. It was so important of what she did, helping all of the families and everything. She was selected, she was one of the 6 ladies that got to sit in a meeting with the First Lady, Barbara Bush, 3 days before the ground war began, Desert Storm.
Now, most of the pilots at the time came out of the 101st. We took the rib out of the 101st and took all their pilots and stuff, other than me and a couple other guys. But they all came out of Bravo Company 229th attack helicopter. They came out of the company, the Chinooks out of 7th Battalion, and then 158th Blackhawks. And so they formed up what they called Task Force 160, put it under the 101st initially, and then of course it grew into what you know now as the 160th Regiment. But the 160th during the 80s, whether it's Grenada or Panama, started improving, and it brought the entire readiness and combat capability of the conventional aviation force. Now everybody was flying night vision goggles. Everybody was using the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures to do strikes and how to avoid the enemy and get in for the targets. And so the regiment has paved the way for what we see today in the conventional Army.
You have a group of individuals that not only have volunteered to join the Army, but have now volunteered for that next level of commitment, the don't quit attitude. There's a lot to the motto. It's not just a slogan. It's a motto that those that are accepted into the 160th are going to do everything at any cost to get the mission done.
And our area of responsibility was East Baghdad. We were in East Baghdad from late 2005 through 2006. When the Samarra bombing happened, as you may recall, in February, that really ignited a civil war between the Shia and the Sunni sects, and we found ourselves right in the middle of that in East Baghdad, fighting Iranian-backed militia, these militias that had the high-end, highly capable improvised explosive devices. But what I was, very proud of was how quickly and well our junior leaders sorted all that out, made sense of things on the ground. found, fought, and eliminated bad guys without creating more bad guys, which was essential to all that we were doing there.
This aircraft that's behind me is an aircraft that I have personally flown on many, many missions in Iraq, Afghanistan, other parts of the world. So this aircraft behind me represents the unit. It represents the sweat, the tears, the happiness, the cheers, all the things that are representing the 160th. So it's not just an airframe. It's not about, there's never a thumb pointing in this. It's always finger pointing on those that were part of it. So this represents a crew of crews in a specific point in time, and also an entire era of 2001 until today of all those missions that have been performed with this aircraft and aircraft that are in service today. It's very, very odd to hear even my family excited about it, to see, gosh, we get to go and see what Dad was a part of. And Dad doesn't talk about stories much at home.
It can kind of grow on you, the being a patriot and all that stuff, when you think you're accomplishing something.
For the soldiers and the units that call Fort Campbell home, it's important for the veterans of those units to see, as best as we can display here, the chapters in the history book of this unit that they wrote. It's important for their families to get a better understanding of what they did downrange and what they did serving in these great units. And then, as you mentioned, it's really important to connect better the soldiers and families of Fort Campbell with the citizens we serve.
When you put that patch on, you're standing on the shoulders of those who won World War II, fought unbelievable in Vietnam, won the Gulf War, and then did great things during Iraq and Afghanistan.
And I'd rather be here to be a part of this, because I know someday we're all going to be gone, pushing up daisies somewhere. But what the museum is doing with this history is critical.
This museum reminds all of us, whether we serve, have served, or support those who do, that freedom requires sacrifice and innovation and a willingness to go wherever we're asked. And when you walk through these doors, whether it's Europe, Vietnam, the Middle East, we're reminded of that sacrifice.
The Screaming Eagles carry a legacy that will forever be enshrined in the Tennessee wings of Liberty Museum.
It is an honor to carry on the legacy of this historic division. We will always have a rendezvous with destiny. Air Assault.
One thing we can never forget is our fallen. So those that are represented in this museum, which cannot be here today, are the ones that paid the ultimate sacrifice.
From the skies over Normandy to the battlefields of today, the story lives on, and it lives here at the Tennessee Wings of Liberty Museum.